like me sometimes, sketchy and all over the map. SpaceX just fired up Starship Block 3, but when will it fly? An outfit called Cowboy Space raised $275 million to launch data centers directly into orbit. Lunar Outpost raises $30 million for a new lunar rover. An Arab firm launches an astronaut training facility as a tourist attraction. Some now say you can't run space policy on dial-up speeds. We'll figure out what that means. SpaceX wants to spend $55 billion for its own chip fab facility. Blue Origin is hiring in Huntsville. We'll tell you how to apply. Also, they're testing their first moon lander and ahead of a test launch into this year. Meanwhile, Canada is debating what their startups need next. Rocket Lab buys Motif for $40 million. What does Pakistan need to make its own space program great again? And who's asking that question? And the United Arab Emirates is making a huge bet on LeoSats. Can they take on Starlink and Amazon just by throwing money at the problem? All that, plus our guest, Kelvin England. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. And as you know, this program is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. Who are we and what do we do? We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization right here in the United States. We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor-ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So if you just go to cscf.space/support and click that Point Today donate button, a little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your friends. And I'm putting out the call. The center is hiring. We're looking for an ambitious, freshly minted CPA for a little moonlighting work for a great cause. If you're interested, write to admin@cscf.space as soon as you can. Speaking of friends, my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, who just finished transmuting lead into gold for his projects, is here with me. Michael, come on in.
Hey, how's things?
Good.
It worked. Eureka. I now know how to make lead from gold. I've been doing that for a long time.
Wasn't that supposed to be the other way around?
I know, but I'm good at discipline. I'm good at taking a thing that exists that makes a lot of money and turning it into space, which doesn't make a lot of money. So
right.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, Nick Marquez is back with us. Hi, Nick.
Hey,
how you
Nick.
doing?
Yep.
Yeah. I get that. That's what Musk said early on. You want to make a small fortune in space, start with a big one.
Start with a big one.
That's how that works. That's not happening all the time.
No.
Anymore. All the money that's in this industry now. I mean, 630 billion last year. God knows it's going to be this year. We're already halfway to that mark, I think. And it's not even June. So it's going to be another big year. Even with all the economic ups and downs we get, space just keeps to move on. It just keeps going like that.
Well, we're one of our news articles this evening. We're going to talk about somebody who's starting with a big fortune and probably going to make another big fortune. In space. So it's
absolutely
a good place to be right now.
Yeah, it is. Shall we just start?
Yeah, let's do it. What do you got?
Okay, what have I got? Well, one thing, I guess. SpaceX just fired up their 33-engine Starship version 3 super heavy rocket booster. Now, the question then becomes, when might it actually fly?
Fingers crossed soon, right?
Yep. But had the full thrust 33 engine static fire today. They're targeting May 15, which is only 4 days from now,
right?
the test flight. But
Yeah.
they tested the super heavy first stage. They lit up all 33 engines, and while it remained anchored to the pad, and everything apparently went really well. So the window opens just
Yep.
4 days from now, which is what
on
Friday?
Thursday with our show. Like
Thursday with our show, that'd be even better.
Yep.
That's happened before.
Yep.
For us. So and I had to have an extra screen set up here. We were watching that and doing our show at the same time.
Right. Try to have like a relatively, informative conversation. Meanwhile, there's a rocket blasting off on the other screen. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
It's pretty fun. Yeah, so fingers crossed. I always they use the no earlier than date, but yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, we've gotten some good luck on that stuff so far this year, so maybe that luck will continue just as a pattern.
Yeah.
No matter who's doing it, I like, success is something I really like, and so we got that going. So next up, do you know these guys, Cowboy Space?
I do, but that's not who they were. So a minute ago, we're like, oh, start with a big bunch of money and then turned into space. Well, this guy bought BHATT. He was one of the earliest founders of Robinhood. So he made a bunch of money in exchanges and consolidating people's investment accounts, and then he decided to put it into space. And a year ago, they were focused on space-based solar power, and I was like, yay, somebody really doing something great with their money to move humanity forward.
Right. But now you decide, I guess, I want to actually use my money to make money.
Maybe not, right? Because Overview Energy just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, got that contract with Meta. Starcatcher is eating another kind of part of the business model, and so Aether Flux is like, maybe this isn't the plan we should be on. So giant pivot today, because that's what the world needs, is yet another data center on orbit business.
Well, I guess they said there aren't enough, as the thing says, there aren't enough rockets for space data centers, and so they decided to build their own. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that's a market niche now. So maybe that will work for them. They build a very special kind of launcher. We're only going to launch data centers with it. Well, given all the trillions of dollars they're going into, space-based data centers with AI in them, that might actually be not so risky a play if they can, pull it off. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, everybody who's examined this market has said SpaceX is uncatchable because they have the rocket system and the data element in one system.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I guess this is one billionaire betting their billions against the biggest billionaire's billions.
Yeah.
I don't think the world needs yet another rocket company, but that's what they're doing. So
well they're saying that the big boys like SpaceX, they won't be even approachable for something like this, for a third party for many years. They might have to wait till the mid 2030s to even get a manifest going. And so I guess there could be a niche if you have enough to make that pay. Is 275 million enough then in that case?
No, definitely not. Stoke has raised north of $850 million, and they have not gone to orbit yet. So, I don't think 275 is enough to get in the game. They are going to need more than that. So
they must have figured out. They must have figured that this gets us to a certain milestone,
Right.
and that will open the rest of the wallets
Yeah.
if they can hit that milestone and do it quickly and impress everybody.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yep. 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 um, I'm not sure I remember this next part correctly, but I think Breakthrough Energy Ventures is either Gates or Zuckerberg.
Mhm.
Do you know that? Do
I
you
do
know if
not know
that's
that.
true? No. Okay.
We
All
don't
right.
know that.
I don't want to. I don't want to spread rumors, but that's what my memory is telling me. It's a named billionaire also backing this thing. So that's probably good news if it's true. If what I'm saying is correct. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's interesting. Jason's here. Jason Sprecher. Hi, Jason.
hey,
Yeah, a couple of comments. He said Meta's buyout for AI in China was rejected. Yeah, I wonder why. And he also claims that all rockets are booked through 2029. That would not surprise me if
he's
that's
right
true.
about that. Jason's right about that. That there's definitely. I'm actually really worried if I'm going to get the flights I want for my stuff.
Yep. Yep.
I'm actually quite concerned about that. So there is really, for the first time ever, there's gonna, well, that's the wrong way of looking at it. But there is a bottleneck. There is a bottleneck in
Yep.
flights right now. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of ironic because 25 years ago nobody's launching anything. We were all out there by guess and by God, and
Right.
we want to do something and get out of the NASA monopoly. And now it's almost like, well, here we are again, except it's in the opposite way. There
Right.
are tons of commercial options now available to you, and guess what? They're all freaking booked
Right. The
through
price is not
2029. So,
coming. The price is not
sorry.
coming down because the supply and demand. There's limited supply and nearly unlimited demand. So
Was what those startups are saying. Maybe build it and they will come is in fact a viable business model because they're coming out of the woodwork in a
you
way
know,
none of us expected.
I got some pushback. I was chatting with an angel investor a couple days ago, and they asked for what are our revenue numbers and what are we generating in terms of income.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, look, we're an infrastructure company. We're a toll booth company, which we're a toll bridge company. We do not get paid until the bridge is
It's
built,
built.
right? And so they're coming at this from the perspective of software, right? Build
Right.
a
Sure.
thing, get a minimum viable product. That's how they know how to evaluate things. But our whole industry is a toll bridge company. We only get paid when the thing works and is flying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh,
Technically, we're kind of that way with Avialto right now. It's like,
yeah,
okay, we know exactly how to build the unit, but we can't get any revenue going until we build the unit.
right.
There are
Yep.
there are no half measures that you can monetize along the way.
Nope.
You
Nope.
you build it or you don't.
Yep.
And so that's kind of where things are.
So as we hit this bottleneck of flight capacity, there's going to be companies sitting on the edges wondering when they're going to fly. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting next couple of years.
Yeah.
All right, hey, let's move on. So good luck for
go.
Aetherflux with their $2 billion valuation the day that they announce their company exists.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know
Right?
how you do that, but that's pretty good.
Yeah, you raise 275 million in stealth and then pivot from one outlandish idea to another outlandish idea.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
apparently they're winning the day.
Right.
Outlandish is winning the day right now. So,
Yeah.
well, I guess on this show we're going along for the ride. That's what we're doing. One thing I did see today, a little company I never heard of called Lunar Outpost raised 30 million to revamp rover designs to meet the Artemis architecture, the revised Artemis architecture. And they're working on a rover.
Right. I don't know that much about Lunar Outpost. I think they're out of Denver, Colorado, somewhere.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought there was a business to be had on building a rover. That seemed a little surprising to me, but
Well,
here we go. They got it. So
do is be first and best and have the team together. You think that they can show will build that vision, and
mhm,
maybe you get the contract. I don't know.
yeah,
You know, like I say, this is the second time now we've talked about what we think of as a niche market,
right.
but they're getting money.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
gotta believe there's probably some intellectual property um value there that's
uh-huh.
probably interesting. I found another post that says Type 1 Ventures put money into this.
Hmm.
Type 1 also put money into Gravitics. They were the first investor at Gravitics. So they do put money into big ideas.
Yeah,
And that's kind of all I know about this. So we'll just kind of wait and see if we learn a little bit more.
yeah. Meanwhile, somebody I never heard of before. It's an Arab world outfit. They're called Ras Al Khaimah, and they want to actually launch an astronaut training and commercial spaceflight experience center to boost tourism. I just thought that there's not much to the story. I just thought that
Yeah.
was a interesting blurb. I
Yeah.
know the Arab world really wants to get involved in space a lot more than they have been, and I have another article about that later. But they're diving in. They're diving in, and money can always be found for that.
The United Arab Emirates have been really pushing a Martian system.
Yep.
I consider them the very best Mars program in the world. So good on them. Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the picture that they're showing on the screen looks an awful lot like the Mars Desert Research Station out in Utah.
Yeah.
And that is not a tourist destination. I've been out there 3 times. It's you could build it into something interesting, but it doesn't start that way. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, cool. Oh yeah, Jason's like the line has failed. So if nobody else is paying attention to that, that's the Saudi Arabian program where they basically are trying to build 100-kilometer city
Oh
in
yeah,
the desert,
I remember that.
and yeah, that's a whole new crazy program. And I find that really interesting that other nations are using going to space as a training program, and they're like, nope, we're going to build all of our engineers down here on the ground, and we're going to go after this. I don't think the line saying the line has failed is entirely accurate, but it's definitely they decide to just stretch it out over more time. So we'll see. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Okay. Some folks are saying that the regulatory framework on the ground these people are claiming is stuck in a slower era. Apparently, we're launching more rockets and deploying more satellites than ever before, but trying to get through the filing process and get to the regulatory barriers is
Mhm,
still just slower than a snake. Um,
mhm,
and they're claiming that we've got all this 21st century technology, but apparently the FCC and maybe even the FAA at times don't really use it, but especially FCC. Their
mhm.
licensing system is not keeping pace with the space economy, and so the agency-led reform has some limits. Even if they overhauled everything,
Yeah.
new leadership may take a different approach. Rules change, priorities shift, staff are redirected, and that's why they're saying Congress needs to get involved. And so they proposed something called the SAT Streamlining Act, is tightly focused on just that. And so they say the bill would establish clear shot clocks, like in basketball, I guess,
Yeah, shot
and
clocks. I like
streamlined
that.
reviews, ensuring that the application processing is more timely and predictable. And so, and it puts guardrails in place.
I can live with that. I mean, that's similar to what we just said the other day about the FAA finally putting a price per pound for an administrative process for
Yeah,
flights and launches. So this doesn't seem like it's coming out of left field.
right,
Uh,
right.
we've already talked about the burden of the staffing on the FAA. When you launch a satellite, you have to go through the FAA to get clearance with the FCC, State Department, Department of Defense, NASA, NOAA, and then the FCC takes your petition that's been cleared by those places, those 5 places, and then takes it to the ITU and UN. So it is a complex process to do that. So
Okay.
if there's a better way of doing that, that would be great.
Yep, yep. I'm going to kind of skip over this one really quickly because it's from a New York Times article, and the New York. I don't know about you, but the Times keeps getting in my way when I want to look at something.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, but what they said was that Musk wants to build something called a terafab. It's a new chip factory. He's prepared to spend $55 billion to do it.
right.
I presume those chips are for making AI better. I would
Yep,
imagine.
yep.
Yeah.
On orbit data center making chips better for their
Yep.
open AI component. Yep.
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 Well, we're back. Now we're back in the world real quickly of sovereign space programs and sovereign capabilities that you're building. Well, Canada is no exception.
Right.
I just saw this thing. I was on Space Q today. They're all having some interesting discussions about what should be happening in their world.
Right. Yeah. Canada has always been able to kind of dance in both worlds. They can submit to a NASA proposal because they're a next door neighbor and they're allowed to do that, and they can submit to a European Space Agency because UK sovereignty, right? So
Right.
They've always kind of been able to dance between both, which made them a great supplier, but they were not really their own organization for their own launch capabilities, their own, they're famous for their robotics piece, but.
And I guess that's what they're working on now and what they're having all the discussions about. They actually officially call it a Launch the North.
Yeah.
Which is about launching startups.
Yeah.
And so I guess they're committing, as it says, about $300 million to start with, just to kickstart things and get some some launch and other forms of startups going up there. And so they're but I guess they say, well, we'll talk about what these startups need. Well, mostly they need money. So 300 million's a start. In our world, that's almost chump change now. But yeah, they'll need to, especially for splitting it amongst 10 or 20 companies.
Yeah.
But they're at least they're talking about it, and they're moving on. I've got speaking of moving on, I got 2 back-to-back things about Blue Origin.
Okay.
One, they're adding more than 100 jobs in the Huntsville area. There's a whole thing here. If you live in the Huntsville area, it tells you right here how to apply.
Cool.
And there's the link. You can apply here. So there you go. Well, it grew. Actually, it grew. They've been there a while now. They grew from initial commitment of 300 jobs, but now they have 1,600 staff in Alabama.
We reported on them last year. Yeah.
Yeah. Now 1,600 are there. They're going to hire 100 more right now, today.
Why in Washington State? They are the largest. They're the largest employer in the region for space. Not the largest. Amazon's the largest by a lot. Microsoft's the largest by a lot.
Sure.
But they're the largest in the region, and they have more than 1,500 open positions here in Kent, Washington. So
Wow.
yeah, no, they're like, we need people to fill these positions. Yeah, all over.
All right. Well, the next thing, which is just as exciting for a lot of people, including me, they're going to be testing their first moon lander later this year. Blue Moon MK1 is getting closer toward launch readiness, and they're putting it through its paces. That vehicle is called Endurance, and that's the uncrewed Blue Moon MK1 test lander, which is designed to pave the way for more advanced MK2 that will actually fly astronauts to the moon's surface. So they're targeting, NASA's targeting late 2027 for Artemis 3 still, if they make it.
Right.
And they'll be testing rendezvous and docking maneuvers with either Blue Moon or a Starship, or maybe both, who knows. But they just completed vacuum chamber testing, and so they're pushing it. They're pushing it for later and test it in orbit. Well, I thought was really cool. Yeah. Very quickly. Okay, I got that. Oh, here we go. Actually, Rocket Lab has been in the news for a whole bunch of things today.
Yeah, they are.
They were huge. Most of them didn't involve money, so I picked the money one. They're buying Motiv Space for $40 million. So they're adding robotics to their and solar drives to their bag of tricks.
I think that's pretty neat. This goes straight to what we've talked about plenty of times before, where companies are buying capacity. When they're sitting on excess cash, they're buying other companies for innovation, acqui-hire, that sort of stuff. Yeah. And no surprise. I was at a pitch meeting about 3 weeks ago, and somebody was asking, okay, so what happens if SpaceX IPOs? What else should I be looking at? And I gave them 3 pieces of advice, and one of them was Rocket Lab, saying this very publicly. This is not stock advice. I am not licensed to do that stuff. This is not. But we were talking about Rocket Lab, and they've grown 30%, 40% in a month just because of what's happening with SpaceX. So,
okay. I'm going to skip the next one, maybe save it for next time, because I've got one final one I want to throw in here. Okay. It's about the Emirates, UAE. Yeah. They're betting big in space, they say. This article says, can it take on Starlink and Amazon? So they want to take it on, but they want to build, they need to build their own industry from scratch. And it looks like they're committing to do just that.
It's a big deal.
It's about sovereignty, resilience, and control over their own infrastructure.
Yeah. Outlined plans to build $1 billion worth of satellite development network for over the next 5 years, alongside the manufacturing facility in Abu Dhabi that can scale production from 10 satellites annually to as many as 50. Well, 50 is not much by today's standards. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 would have been outlandishly large. And now it's table stakes, right? So
right.
You need something as big as UAE even to get in the game. Yeah, it's neat. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we bring on our guest? We're only a couple minutes late today. Our guest tonight, folks, is Calvin England. He's the co-founder of Dyson Laboratories. And they do things that they're working on orbital data centers. They're working on Bitcoin mining in outer space. And they have all sorts of things they're doing, including some interesting stuff I haven't even talked about. So let's bring him in. Calvin.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, sound great.
I appreciate you guys so much for taking the time to talk with me, and big fan of your show. And heading off on the Blue Origin news and everything else, Mike, did I hear you say correctly a week or two ago that Blue Origin's one of your favorite companies?
It is my favorite company. I wish they would do more than what they're doing and faster than what they're doing, but they are my favorite.
Especially
Uh,
faster.
it's a little, sometimes it's hard to root for them because I think they make some bonehead errors, but they are in fact my favorite. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you were watching. Well, that's good. Yeah.
Yep. Let's start right in, Calvin. Since you're the first time guest, if you just take a minute and give us your origin story a little bit, how you got into all this, how you got the space bug, and a little bit what your company does, and then we're gonna just go dive right into stuff.
Yeah, sure. So out of high school, I wasn't really a great student, so I went to the Marine Corps. I was in the infantry, deployed a couple times, realized that really wasn't for me. Decided that I was going to use my GI Bill, and I went to Purdue back in Indiana, where I'm from. Got my mechanical engineering degree. While I was there, I had a chance to work on explosives research. So I went from deploying explosives to researching them.
Okay.
And that introduced me to aerospace. Started working at Northrop Grumman. After that, after I graduated, went to Belcan working at Virgin Galactic, but was still kind of in the aviation, like this weird crossover world. And said, okay, well, this space thing's pretty cool. In the meantime, I moved down to Florida. Was right outside of when Blue Origin, they went through a big surge for hiring. And I was like, you know what? I might be able to hop on that train. And this was back in 2022. So I was there for about a year. Then I went to go work at Beyond Gravity up in Titusville doing satellite manufacturing. And then I worked at a company called Extant Aerospace doing obsolescent avionics. So touched a lot of basically every type of electronics system that's inside of a plane.
Okay.
And said, okay, well, I've got all these weird skills, worked in a whole bunch of different roles. I'm not really good at any of these things. But I do think I'm a bit of a generalist now. So put together a spreadsheet, tried to analyze some different technologies with Starship and New Glenn coming online. Like what capability unlocks are we going to have? And I've always been interested in Bitcoin. I'm a little bit of a evangelical Bitcoiner, so I'll save that. But one of the things that I saw was that we might be able to levelize energy in space versus energy on Earth with these new round of launch vehicles. And if you're able to do that, then now what can we do? And that's why I've named the company Dyson Sphere Laboratories, because I think we're actually a lot closer to that than people realize.
Nice. I don't know if you know, I was kind of like shoot myself in the foot when I talk about it, but I was a very early Bitcoin adopter, and one at one point I had 14 Bitcoin, so I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I see where you're going. You're wrong. I When the price was around 900 per coin, I was like, there's no way this mythical ones and zeros thing is ever going to hit over 1,000. There's no way it can. So me, genius that I am, timing the market, I'm going to sell at the top at $950 per coin. So that's what I did, and I liquidated, and I've just watched it climb ever since. So, yep, those were the 2000. I just a couple days ago, I was going through paperwork, old paperwork. I found a receipt for one of my interns for that summer. Was 2000, I think it was 2018 or 19. And I'm like, oh, it was $1,200, right, for his 2 weeks work. So I went back and I looked up the price of Bitcoin that I liquidated so I could pay him his American salary for 2 weeks. And that one paycheck was worth $14,000 if he had just kept the coin that, and over the whole summer, just him and the other guy that worked for me, I just liquidated my holdings just to make sure that they got paid. So
Yeah.
Yep,
It is
that's
what
my
it is.
Bitcoin story.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
there
what's
was
your
no
focus
such thing as
now,
hold on till dear life back then. Not really.
Michael?
So what?
Sure.
So what's your focus now, Calvin,
Yeah.
on your current company?
Well, so the Bitcoin really hasn't like left my focus insofar as that I think that this is a tool for sovereignty,
Okay.
which is going to be increasingly important in space. Um, and this whole data centers in space thing, like that was something that I was kind of pontificating on, trying to figure out like what could a company look like that does that. Now that this was a couple of years ago, so now this is a lot more becoming apparent. Things are starting to solidify what the move to bring more compute into space, what it's going to look like. Um, but our company is focused at the protocol layer for the time being, meaning that we have software that we're offering to folks with the idea that this is going to increase the interoperability of space. So if you're familiar with like OAuth 2.0, where you can use Google to sign into different websites,
Yeah.
is an authorization. And then also you have that SSL TLS lock icon when you're in a secure HTTP link. Those two types of cryptography are extremely powerful, but there's no standard protocol that's like that for space yet. There's a bunch of different attempts, but there's no way to, if you treat each space asset as like a website, there's no way to link all of these things together and really start treating data connectivity, data as a pipeline is more of a commodity inside the market. So our company's trying to onboard people into a marketplace and bring down the prices of everything and render higher quality service to customers in general.
Okay.
Okay, who are your customers?
So right now, I think that the beachhead market, so to speak, is going to be in downlink optimization. So what that means is that uh, both ground stations are going to be important in this, as well as finding people where they're downlinked, where they are bottlenecked by their downlink capability. Um, so what we're hoping to do is have a system that um, allows people to be able to not have to deal with the very, very long onboarding process associated with being able to have two aerospace companies talk to each other today. Where if we can get them to adopt our protocol, that's basically it runs at the application layer. It's extremely lightweight with regards to the type of cryptography that's used. It's just the way that you would tell an asset that you want to do a function call or whatever it may be on that asset. If we can get multiple people to use this format, then we can really start having space communicate to each other in a very agnostic, hardware and constellation agnostic way that doesn't really exist today.
Okay. How do you get that done and smooth it out and maintain good security?
Well, so inherent to cryptography, there is the cryptographic protocols themselves are all open source. And this is on purpose because if you break a cryptographic scheme in somehow, you become pretty infamous inside the world of cybersecurity because you just solved a problem that nobody else could. So open protocols are a big part of this. And taking the open frameworks that exist inside of systems like the internet and applying those distributed system technologies to space is really what we're trying to do. I think the internet is a really great analogy for what we're trying to build.
The internet for space. So connectivity between spacecraft, space stations, that sort of stuff. Okay. And that's a pretty well understood system currently. They're going to be moving from radio signals to laser signals, like that's changing. But so
Sure.
you want to fit in kind of that layer?
So maybe I could get more specific. one of the things there's a company called Skywatch. Skywatch is a image broker, so you have all these different imaging satellites, but ultimately the customer isn't really going to care where they get their sub-meter photography from at the end of the day.
Right.
So they could, it doesn't matter who the provider is necessarily. But if you're a small to medium-sized organization, you're not going to be able to deal with these constellation companies on your own. This is something where Skywatch becomes a broker. So they broker a deal for all the small and medium customers for the images. And that increases their the quality of service that's provided to those customers as well. Now, this is purely an exercise in business development. As far as I'm aware, I don't think that there's any type of underlying technology. But if Skywatch were to have an individual scrap packet that was like, hey, we want a photo with sub-micron or sub-meter resolution in this square kilometer over Houston or wherever it may be, that capability could be automatically bid and then distributed to the every satellite as a constellation agnostically, and then sold as a service in a much more automated and less business developer heavy way than it is today. Does that make more sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little fuzzy. That's why I keep asking, like.
So we can't necessarily define the end product, but meaning that I can't verify that this capability provider actually has sub-meter resolution for their photograph. But what I can send around is an individual cryptographic proof that photograph was taken at a certain time. So now that we have that cryptographic proof, we can do all sorts of very neat things inside the software with it. So that cryptographic proof can be tied back to individual financial transactions in a store and forwarded manner. And with that, we can start building automation into the pipeline where we figure out who is the quickest buyer and seller of that individual photograph that might be taken.
Mm-hmm. So now let me get this straight, because I would keep waiting for you to talk about a satellite or something like that. Are you doing all this on the ground?
Today,
or are you actually launching something physically later?
Well, so eventually, we're hoping to be you have all these different markets in space. You have the imaging market, data market, everything else. We want to be a participant in the compute and space market.
Okay.
And this system is really just an internal tool that we built for ourselves to be able to sell our compute. But we've made it in such a way that it's agnostic to the individual capability that's being provided. So if it's imaging or if it's a data pipeline or whatever it may be, that people can sign up, show expose their service, delegate the authorization based on the what people are going to pay in like a tiered manner, and then ultimately route those messages and then connect it back to an auditable in cryptographic proof system that's attached to the payments.
Okay.
So it makes an exchange of goods and services trackable using the blockchain.
Yes.
It puts some characteristics like timestamps and validation into, so we've always imagined that, there's going to be a point where people can go to a space station and there's going to be a price, right? How big they are, how much food they consume, the price for the heat and the air and the water and the toilet and the food, and there's going to be a commodity of having a person for an orbital hour or an orbital day or an orbital week. And there's eventually going to be such sophistication that you're going to be able to bring a cat with you as an extra, right? That's one plus my cat. So what you're trying to do is kind of build out the information layer that would fit in that exchange.
Yeah, I think that that's a great summarization.
Okay, because I was definitely having a hard time hanging on to this one. So I'm not too proud to say that. Like I was trying to figure out like, okay, where is the market? And what you're saying is you are trying to build a commodities exchange element, not the whole exchange, but an element that goes into the commodities exchange.
Basically, maybe another example would be refueling.
Okay.
So in the future, you can imagine having, maybe 5 different providers that
Right.
all will give out hydrogen in space, with a certain port, maybe. So maybe you have 3 of one and 2 of another.
Yep.
So you have these capabilities that they do have to be individually differentiated between. If you have port 1, you don't want to deal with the company that only has port 2.
Right.
But ultimately, if the fuel is still hydrogen, then you care about the price maybe of all 5 providers. So being able to say in an automated way, have these messages in a stored and forwarded protocol where one message can hop between the individual systems and ultimately meet up, negotiate on a price, and then eventually meet back down on terrestrial ground servers where it's stored in the blockchain. It may also be worth noting that this cryptographic protocol, even if you remove the payment element of it, being able to send a cryptographic proof that a service was rendered also has a lot of utility in it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bitcoin thing, I really do think is the something it's quite novel here.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's starting
Yeah.
to be a little clearer now. Very
Well,
cool.
the proof is the thing. I've been studying this a lot lately. Just for an old guy, I'm like, okay, what's really going on? And I started learning about things like Monero and stuff like that. And I'm going, okay, this is cool now, because I guess the holy grail of proof is if you just use pure math and physics, to do what you need to do. That's like it's also like the ultimate in anonymization as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. There's cryptographic proofs are a very it is a very interesting system to authenticate parties, to be able to show. There's even zero knowledge proofs that are
yeah,
incredibly crazy.
yeah,
It's some interesting stuff happening
yeah.
right
I've been
now.
reading about that. I'm kind of looking at there is a way you can go with these things in a certain way. I'm still fleshing that out
Yeah.
with the help of my AI, and so I might have something to talk about later. So
Sure.
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm not
So tell
need to
us more
question a
about
human.
Dyson, your team, how long you've been around, what you're trying to do. What does the next 6 months look like? Because you're kind of at the edge of what we normally talk about. So I do need some education there.
Sure. So, well, right now, I founded the LLC associated with the company back in April of 2024 as part of like an exploratory, talking to other businesses while I was still working type
Mm-hmm.
arrangement. I quit my job back in August and made the C corporation very recently with my co-founder Bob McElrath. Bob's a former physicist from CERN. He dropped out of CERN, so to speak, to go study Bitcoin. So he worked on Bitcoin at Fidelity's research lab back in 2015. And we've been developing these protocols together, doing demos, other things. if Since then, the immediate future, we have a couple demonstrations that we're building out with partners now. But the immediate future, it's SBIR season, so there's a couple sibbers and sitters that are actually pretty well aligned with our tech, which is it's very interesting, especially because we have a partnership with my alma mater, Purdue. Dr. Karen Murray, pardon me, has been working with Indiana University on the post-Artemis Accords in situ resource utilization of the moon.
Cool.
And one of the NASA sitters specifically asked for financial engineering constructs, which is really up our alley, and it makes me quite excited to see that. Of course, it's phase one, but ultimately beyond that, we're trying to identify ground station partners, launch providers, or satellite customers who are downlink constrained, and helping get them more access to new markets, and then trying to find hosted payloads for ultimately putting our first couple compute prototypes into space.
Okay.
Neat.
All right.
Well, you got at least one satellite developer on this call now in the chat, so you'll know what to do. All right, that's kind of cool.
So how do we expand from there? What happens later? Because so you're getting this stuff done, you're getting this infrastructure built, and you're doing some nice business now. But we always look ahead to the future. I know Michael and I are really, really interested in the emerging cislunar economy.
Mm-hmm.
How does something like yours extend out to Elon Musk's city on the moon?
Sure. So
15 years from now.
Right. If you look at that sitter contract, or the solicitation rather, it explicitly is focused around the idea of civil engineering constructs on the moon. So, meaning that for this, there would be at least one, maybe, but probably more rovers of some type. I think NASA refers to their CP or IPEX and CPEX, which is like an excavator, basically. These little rovers that can push lunar regolith around. They want callouts for grading, what actual coordinate of regolith needs to be moved around, and other things. So building the financial constructs that would be able to say, hey, we have an ask for this area to be graded at a 30% slope. Who wants to bid on this and actually perform? That is the first time I've seen somebody really, a governmental body, kind of hint towards what this future could look like. If we have an agentic economy where these decisions are being highly, highly optimized by machines that are specifically made to make the best decision that's possible, I think that we're going to see a lot of the human interactivity and what we see in the space industry today start to be removed. Business developers, it's not to say that people will be without jobs. I definitely don't think that that's the case, but I think that the idea of the actual transactions that take place today, instead of it being put together after the fact by humans, this is going to be something that will be built in to the way that these machines talk to each other. At least that's like my very optimistic take on what we could end up building.
Okay. That's what I was looking for, an expansion model. Yeah. Apparently, you've already thought of that. It's going to be kind of built in.
Well, I'm when we start talking about, there's some very interesting things that, because Bitcoin is like inherently tied to blocks, which are like time oriented. There's this very weird thing that starts to happen as you move away from the Earth or the center of hash. Which is, if you think about hash power as like a center of gravity that can be distributed in a system, as you move away from the center of hash and you move towards Mars and you move out of the block time, the Bitcoin block time of 10 minutes, you have this very weird, like there's a bunch of weird things that will happen if Bitcoin ends up truly being the financial system that's underlying it all.
I'm guessing you know a little bit about Mars Coin.
I have I've read a paper that talked about Mars coin. I don't gosh, I forget that wasn't uh oh man, I can't even remember the organization he's with.
It's
Can you tell me?
it's worth looking up. Some folks built it, and then they granted the Mars Society a bunch of tokens, a million tokens. It's a real thing. I'm not sitting here trying to evangelize Bitcoin or Mars coin or any of the coins, but they have figured out some mechanisms to deal with the time problem. So you can look it up on your own. I'm not trying to like point you towards anything, but
Sure.
yeah, there's folks that are thinking that the entire moon economy is going to be based off of coins, right? A lot of people think that the entire cislunar economy is going to be based off of coins, and I'm probably one of them.
Well, you can't eat coins, so sooner or later, somebody has to build something and provide it for somebody else.
Yeah,
you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Sean, our producer, is reminding us that we've got just 4 more minutes here. What does the future look like? What does 5 years out look like, and what does 25 years out look like?
Sure. In 5 years' time, I think that we're moving into a period of more volatility in the world in the very short term. There's been a lot of unfortunate news that's happened recently, but I do think that space is going to remain very exciting. I think that, and that's why I love working in space, because there's never a dull, like, it always keeps me optimistic about what the future can be.
Yeah.
And I hope that data centers in space, or putting more compute in space, takes place in a more proliferated and very interesting way. 25 years out, I'd like, if I can get the opportunity to die on the moon, then I think that we have done absolutely everything right. And obviously it's built on the backs of everybody who's done it up to this point. So I think that that's like the ideal outcome of this all.
All right. Okay. What does 5 years look like for Dyson?
So in the meantime, we're working on those onboarding operators onto our network, getting these launches up. Our first real commercial hardware product is going to be a compute integrated solar panel. So kind of similar to what Sophia Space is targeting, but we're hoping to provide like more of a hosted payload type system, where if you want to have your own compute module, that we'll tag it on to somebody's system. And then beyond that, if the network proliferates and if it makes sense, there's an idea of building a thing that we're calling an artificial ground station. And this is like a satellite that is specifically made to send around this economic tasking in an inter-satellite link, and kind of be the router, so to speak, to the rest of these constellations.
Okay. I wish we had talked a little bit more about that too on the show. That's kind of interesting.
Well, there will be another time.
Right.
Trust me on this. Kelvin England, CEO, Dyson Sphere Laboratories. This has been a fascinating conversation about how we're actually going to make business transactions happen in the high frontier with much better alacrity and more security. And it's going to just open up Leo, and then we'll ultimately be spreading to the moon, and God knows where after that. Thank you so much for being with us. Stick around afterward for a debrief, and we'll see you in a minute. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much for having me, and thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, Thursday is a no-brainer. that guy to my left, Michael Lane, is going to be our guest on the show. He's going to obviously catch us up, give us an update on the lunar elevator, no pressure, and a lot of other topics that we're going to talk about. We'll just go off the dial, and this time, Sean can't yell at us for running late because you're the guest.
We're gonna do something a little bit more specific, and it's something that the center is going to start doing. Is I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be a pitch. I'm gonna do a pitch,
Good.
not to raise money, but to get somebody whose opinion I really trust, Tom and Sean, to evaluate our pitch. Right, we're out there trying to raise capital, and I would like.
And you're doing it in front of Dallas.
I want all the slings and the arrows.
Everybody.
Yeah, I want all the slings and arrows from the people that I know I like before I get out into the world and have them throw slings and arrows.
This is going to be a very special night, you guys. Do not miss this one. It's going to be,
and we're going to start doing that for other people. So
you're the first guinea pig.
Right.
What we're doing.
Dallas, sign up with Sean. Joe, sign up with Sean. If you guys want to do this, sign up with Sean to do it. So I'm scared. I'm gonna just be honest. I'm really uncomfortable about this, but this is what we do, right? So
no, it's like they said, the Force Luke.
Right.
Let your fear pass through you. All right. And on that, for Michael Lane and Sean Key, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.